What's going on, everyone? Today I thought we'd cover the setup process for Laravel 6 with React and React Router. We're going to cover everything from installation to deployment, as well as any kind of prerequisites that we're going to need on our system itself. This video will be broken down into a few different sections. We'll first set up Laravel itself. Once we set up Laravel, we'll set up Laravel with React and React Router. We're going to go ahead and test our application on our computers. And then finally, we'll deploy our application to our server. Once it's live, we're going to do some final configuration stuff to make sure everything is working 100% like we want it to. So let's go ahead and get started. Navigate over to laravel.com. Go ahead and click documentation, and we're going to go ahead and start reading some of these installation instructions. The first thing that I'm going to direct your attention towards is that in order to have the Laravel installer that we're going to be getting shortly, you need to have PHP version 7.2 or greater. So head over to your terminal or your command prompt, type in, not pimp, php-v, and we're going to see that, on my computer I'm running PHP version 7.4. If you don't have PHP installed on your computer, you can head over to, for example, web server or XAMPP. Scroll down a little bit, download this 64-bit executable. It comes with 3 different versions of PHP, 5.6, 7.3, and 7.4 at the time of this recording. Once you install it, you can again type in php-v and see the correct version display. If you already have web server installed, but you have the incorrect PHP version, you can head over to this repository for web server files, which the address is right there. Go down to PHP, select the executable for the one that you want. You can do anywhere from 7.2 to 7.4 and run it, and it should install 7.4. Once it's installed, you can head over to your web server and head over to PHP version and then select which version you want to be running. Once you select which version you want to run, you can go ahead and restart all services, and you should have that correct version. You're also probably going to have to modify your environmental variable. So edit the environmental variables, just search for it, click environmental variables right here. And in your path, you're going to want to click edit, and you're going to want to click browse to browse to this location so you can add it. So in this case, I'll click browse. I know it's in my PC, the CDC, web 64, in my bin, PHP, there's version 7.4 right there. So that's what I want to select and click OK. I've already done it right here. And while I'm also right here, if you want to use MySQL from your command line, you can navigate to this folder, select bin, and you should be able to use MySQL. So once that's complete, you close everything out, and then you can open up your terminal again and verify that everything is working. If you're on a Mac, you can do the same command, php-v. If it's a version that's less than 7.2, you're going to want to come to this website and grab this command right here, for example. Execute it, and then you'll notice also that when you type in php-v again, it's going to show your old version. So you're going to want to export this path variable by following the instructions that are outlined right here. As soon as you're done with that, you type in php-v again, you'll be running the correct version of PHP this time. Alright, let's head back to the Laravel documentation and start scrolling down a little bit. The next line that we're going to be focusing on is this Composer Global Require Laravel Installer. It does require that we have Composer installed. So let's just type in composer -- version. And we can see that we have Composer version 1.9.2. If you don't have Composer installed, just navigate to getcomposer.org/download, click on composer setup.exe, and you'll be able to download Composer. Since we're grabbing Composer, the last bit of information that we're going to have to verify that we have is the NPM manager that comes packaged with Node.js. So if you don't have it installed, just head over to Node.js, download it, and then you can verify that you have NPM installed by typing npm version. And it'll give you this information right here. Okay, head back to the Laravel documentation, copy and paste this command into your terminal, and go ahead and install the Laravel installer. Once you finish installing the Laravel installer, you can type in Laravel-v, I believe. Yep. And that will give you the correct Laravel installer version. So if you don't have Laravel installer installed, this will not pop up, of course. So you're going to have to follow some of these steps that we outlined beforehand. Okay, we're finally at the point where we can execute the following command right here, which is Laravel new blog. This will create a new project called blog. So I'm going to open up my terminal and I'm going to navigate into my www folder, and we'll do a Laravel new, and I'm going to call this project Laravel React. So this will take a little bit of time. As soon as it finishes, we'll continue on. All right, and it's done. Now we can verify that the installation was complete by going and running this command, which is going to launch our development server and it'll launch our application. Let's go ahead and cd into the project itself that was just created, and we can type in php artisan serve. Now that we have our development server running, we can navigate over to the browser, and there's our application. It's up and operational. This time, let's go ahead and open up the folder in our IDE. I'm using VS Code, but you can use any IDE, it doesn't matter. And we can see that all of the files and folder structure has been installed, which means that we set up Laravel successfully on our system. If you have web server or some kind of other server running on your computer, you can at the same time navigate over to your project, which for me it's called Laravel React, and that will open up this folder. Click public and it will display the same page. You don't have to do that. PHP artisan serve. You can just navigate over to the public folder. So I just wanted to show you both of the options. Now that that's done, I guess we'll start setting up Laravel with React. So let's go back in here. Let's take a look at a couple of these files. First one we're going to look at is the routes file, web.php. This just returns currently the welcome view. So welcome.blade.php, this is what's being returned every single time you go to the home page. If you also look under resources.js, you'll notice this app.js, which just requires this bootstrap file that's right there. And there's really nothing else within this folder. This will change pretty soon. Okay, so let's head back to the documentation. This time we'll go to docs6.x/frontend. And let's start reading what it states. So the first thing it says is that we're going to need this Laravel UI composer package. So let's go ahead and copy that. Let's head over to our terminal. If you have PHP artisan serve running, just press Ctrl-C to stop it. Just paste that command in there, composer require Laravel UI-dev, and this will install the Laravel UI. Now that this is done, let's see what the next step is. So it's telling us to generate the basic scaffolding for React. We have to copy and paste this command. Let's go back and paste it, again, to make sure we're inside our project directory, and run it, and that's that. So right now it says to run these two commands. npm install is to download all the packages dependencies, npm run dev is to compile any existing JavaScript code, which is that React code that was just generated, so that we can actually view it inside our browser. And great, it's done. So now we can go back into our IDE and we can see if anything changed. If we open up JS this time and open up app.js, you can see that some notes were added, as well as this require components example. If we look inside the components folder, we see this example.js. Example.js just contains a functional React component named example. It's being exported, and then it's basically being rendered at this example ID, which currently doesn't exist. If we try to do PHP artisan serve, the server is running, but nothing has changed. So if we refresh it, everything's still the same because it's still calling that same welcome blade file, which if we take a look at it, contains no reference to that example ID. So let's go ahead and clean up some of this stuff and get it ready to display our React application. So I'll clean up all this fluff code. Let's do a div ID of it equal to example. And then we also need to include this app.js file. So we'll close that out. Source is equal to asset, and then this is going to be js/app.js. We'll go ahead and save that. Go back to our browser, and if we hit refresh, hey, look, it says example component and example component. So if we open up our example component, that's exactly what's being rendered to the screen. Let's go ahead and modify this slightly. This is a sample React component. And if we save that, go back, hit refresh, it's still showing the same thing. Well, the reason why it's still showing the same thing is because we have to recompile the entire code. So we'll do npm run dev like we did before, and this will recompile all of our JavaScript code. If we wait a few seconds, everything will be done. Now I can see you're already thinking, well, I have to run that command every single time that I modify a React component. And the answer is yes and no. So if you do want to type in npm run dev, you're more than welcome to, or you can type in npm run watch. And what that does is it watches for any kind of JavaScript changes. Every time you save something, it'll go ahead and recompile that code automatically. But since we just completed this compilation, let's go ahead and do PHP artisan serve. Refresh the page, and we can see that there's the sample React component. So let's go ahead and at this time run npm run watch, and this will compile the JavaScript code. And an interesting thing will happen right now as soon as it's done, which is it never actually finishes executing the script. So it's in this stage right here because it's waiting for any kind of additional changes. So what we're going to have to do is open up a new window, make sure that we cd into our project, Laravel, I think. Yep, Laravel React, and then we'll do PHP artisan serve from here. Refresh to make sure everything's still working. It's good. Let's go ahead and make an additional change. Head back, refresh, and that change is being displayed right now. While we're at this stage, I like to start making some changes. I like to rename this example function component to app. And I also like to change this ID to root right there, and we're exporting app. Since we are including this app.js file, it's looking for example, which doesn't exist anymore, or will not shortly. So we'll rename the example.js file app.js. Welcome.blade.php, I also don't really particularly like that name either, so I go ahead and rename it to app.blade.php, which means within our routes, we're going to have to rename that from welcome to app. Let's go ahead and actually stop our deployment server, and let's go ahead and do PHP artisan serve. Let's head back to our page right here, hit refresh, and I think what I ended up doing is forgetting to change one more little key component, which is inside app.blade.php. If we look at app.js, it's now looking for root. So let's go ahead and modify that to root, save it, refresh it, and there we go. It's operational now. The last bit of setup that we need to do is actually install a React router so that we don't rely on Laravel for our routes. So pretty much what we're going to specify is for for any path, we want to load the app view. So why? Just because it's including this script with our app.js component. Of course, this will expand afterwards, and we're going to be handling that with React Router. So let's go back. We'll go ahead and stop that, and we'll stop our watch as well. And we'll do npm install React Router DOM. This will take a little bit of time. And now that it's done, we pretty much have everything set up. npm run watch. We'll go ahead and run that. And we'll also do PHP artisan serve to check one last time and make sure everything is working properly. So let's go ahead and refresh that. That's good. Let's make one last change. Make sure this is not cached anywhere somehow for some reason. And it's still working fine. So we've set up Laravel, we've set up React, and we've set up React Router. I'm not actually going to cover how to use React Router within your React application, but everything is pretty much done at this point. Now that we've tested the application, we're going to want to deploy this application as well. So let's go ahead and open up our folder. We're going to go ahead and right click on the project itself, and we're going to send this to compressed zipped folder. So in a Mac OS, you can do the similar process of compressing the folder to a zipped file. Okay, so why do we need to do this? Well, it's a lot easier to upload a zip file than upload 25,000 files. And we'll be using FileZilla for this. So let's go ahead and open up FileZilla. I have my zip file right here. In my public HTML folder, I went ahead and created a Laravel subfolder. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over. Okay. And it's just going to upload the entire folder over here. Once we're done, we're going to go ahead and extract this file. Okay, now that we're done, let's go ahead and go over to our cPanel. So for me, it's just dinocajic.xyz/cPanel. We'll get into our file manager. And within file manager on the public HTML, like I said, I have the Laravel subfolder, and there is our Laravel zipped file. Now you can upload it anywhere you want. You can upload it to your root directory if this is an application that's going to be replacing your existing website, or if this is a new website that you're creating. So for me, what I'll do is I'll select the zip file, I'll click extract, I'll extract the files within this folder. And it's going to take a little bit of time. Once it's done, it will show me a list of all the files that were extracted. And there are all the files. I can go ahead and click close. If I click reload, there's the Laravel-React. So at this point, I can go to dinocajic.xyz/Laravel/Laravel-React, and that will show me my entire React Laravel application. In order to actually see the code that was compiled, we'll go to public, and with a little bit of luck, we'll actually see our application, and there it is right there. So great, your entire application is now up and operational. It is live on your server. So let's go ahead and do some final touch-ups, some final configuration type stuff. Most likely you don't want your users typing in your domain name / some kind of subfolder / public. So how can we do this? I'm going to go ahead and do this inside my FileZilla. I'm going to rename this folder, and I'm going to call it public HTML. So just pretend that this folder right here, this Laravel folder, is my root directory. So it's right below my public HTML folder, and you'll see why I'm saying that. I'll open that up. I want to move all of the files and folders that are not in the public directory below my public HTML directory so they're not accessible. I'm going to create a new directory called classes, and I'm going to drag everything that's not public inside my classes folder. So all of the folders and files are going to be inside this classes folder. Now that they're there, I'm just basically going to drag it into the directory that's below this public HTML. So there they are right there. If we look at public HTML, we also don't want to have this subfolder public. So all we're going to do is we're going to move all these files into the public HTML directory, which means inside our public HTML directory, we have all the files and folders, including this public folder that is now empty. So we can just go ahead and delete that folder. Now you guys are probably not going to be required to create this Laravel public HTML folder because you already have your public HTML folder, but I have my current existing website on here, and I do not want to replace my existing website with this test application. So that's why I created this folder. I called it Laravel. This is, I'm just pretending this is my root folder, and then I'm, simulating my public HTML folder right here. As you can see, I do have my public HTML folder and I have my root folder up here, which is what you're going to have. So just to kind of keep that in mind, and I just wanted to clarify that a little bit further. So now we can attempt and fail to go to our Laravel project and public HTML, and it says this page is not working. Well, there is a reason for that. Let's go ahead and hit reload. Let's get into our public HTML, and we have to modify the index.php file. If we click edit, right here what we're looking at is that this index.php file is trying to require this autoload.php file that used to be in a directory below it. But now not only is it below it, we moved it over into this classes subdirectory. Same goes for this app.php file. Everything else should stay the same. We click save, go back over here, hit refresh, and as soon as it finishes loading, our application is running. So that's it. I'm going to be creating a blog post on all these steps, so in case in the future you want to reference them, you can. So it'll just be a simple outline of basically everything that we just covered. Hopefully this helped you guys out a lot. I'll be creating a lot more videos in the future, so stay tuned. Thanks again for viewing this video. If you like the content that I provide, I bet you're going to like the book that I wrote titled An Illustrative Introduction to Algorithms. The book was written with visual simplicity in mind. I cover most of the algorithms that you would find in a common algorithms college course. Anything from the master theorem bubble sort all the way down to Graham scan, Johnson's algorithm, Bellman-Ford, some of the algorithms that college students typically have a difficult time comprehending. Visualization is the key to representing each algorithm inside this book. I spent a significant amount of time creating all these graphics and used text only when it was necessary to explain what is happening inside the graphic itself. We can flip through a few of the chapters that are available here on Amazon, and you can see that pretty much this is how the entire book is geared. If we look at, for example, chapter 20, Kruskal's algorithm, you can quickly see how Kruskal's algorithm works just by looking at the pictures. So the book is available on Amazon. It's titled An Illustrative Introduction to Algorithms. You can either search for it by title or by my name, and it should pop up. It is available in paperback and Kindle. And once again, I want to thank you guys for viewing this video.